Hi-ho, everyone. Let me know when and if you can see and hear me. So I'm still waiting for Lukeee to show up. I guess he is still eating. You know, young people today, they eat a lot, and that might take quite some time. So we'll just have to wait for him to finish that and turn up on this screen with me. So meanwhile, we'll see what's going on. We'll just start looking at what's happening in the chat. Don't seem like there are a lot of people on yet. So again, apologies for starting late this morning. It was because we wanted to give Lukeee some time to have his dinner. And Lukeee actually picked the topic for today. So I'm going to let him do most of the talking. I'll obviously give you my opinion as well, because that's a lot of fun to give you opinions on camera so that anyone can see it. So there we go. Alrighty. So Miss Pagan, she's coming back to report what was happening last week. For those of you who were here, she had literally fallen off the wagon and was going to reset with fast, which she did. And now she's eating fajitas with sweet peppers. Good. So the initial 2-day fast was brutal. Yeah, way harder than last time. I haven't touched any energy drinks or processed foods, so that's a very, very good start. So this is quite interesting, because what I was saying last time was that if I have been eating a lot of carbs or processed foods or whatever, I can't go into, I mean, I can go into a 2-day fast, but as you say, it's brutal, and I would probably get a headache because my body would expect me to put some carbs in, and I wouldn't be up, adapted to burning fat optimally at the time. So it would just make me feel pretty crap doing that. So I'm glad that you got through it, and I'm sorry that it was a bit crap for you. But yeah, that's what I would expect happening to me anyway. Okay. A tortilla shell yesterday, and today was the extent of my grains, which is way better than normal. Cool. More random info. I will be working on rendering tallow and herbal oil infusions during this stream. Lol. Righty. So I can see that Lukeee has joined us, so I'm going to put you on. Here we go.
Hello, everyone.
Yay, we got our guest.
How's everyone doing?
As far as I can see, it looks like they're doing good. Richard, morning. What time is it in Brazil right now?
It's 6:30 p.m.
Right. That's why you're always eating dinner.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna be good. No pressure.
Yeah.
Okay. Morning, Rachel. Glad to have you here. And Quick Mouse. We got all of these bloody mice here today. Now I'm gonna get confused. So who is actually Quick Mouse? Who's hiding behind that? Do you know? No?
That's Richard.
No, this is Richard. Is Richard on all the mice?
A second. I think he uses both names. Maybe he has two accounts.
Well, if that is you, Richard, on 2 different mice, you will have to pay the admission fee twice. Just letting you know. Okay, so I'm gonna hand this over to you. I'm gonna let you do whatever you wanted to do with this. So you want to discuss satiety. You don't look so scared.
Yeah, I guess my whole idea was maybe discuss satiety to try and give some of our viewers a better understanding of it. And I know we get to hear some of it, like, oh, this hormone regulates satiety, this is associated with hunger, maybe eating nutrient-dense foods helps you feel satiated and stuff. And yeah, it's mostly shedding light into all of this. I think that's the idea.
Okay, cool. So it is Richard, just by the way. And that's all right. I was just kidding. You can stay. Alrighty. So where do we start? Do we start with the hormones, or do we want to start with the at the naughty end and other things that affect us? Where do you want to go?
Probably the hormones is a good idea. And
Mm-hmm.
there's ghrelin and leptin, I think, the
Right.
main ones.
Look at this. She loves our accents. Okay, let's talk about leptin then. Do you want to start with leptin?
Yeah, leptin.
Cool.
So what I know about leptin is that it is, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Ken, it is produced by adipose cells, I believe, and it actually signals, so it signals the feeling of satiety after you eat. And one very important aspect is that there is such a thing as leptin resistance, which means that you can become sort of non-responsive to the leptin signal that is produced by your adipose cells, and that causes people to still feel hungry after they have eaten even a large meal. And from what I hear and what I have experienced myself and from close friends, what really helps you to regulate your appetite is having a consistent eating schedule. And actually, fasting does help as well, because what you're doing is that you are resensitizing yourself to the signal, to the satiety signal of leptin. And yeah, that's kind of the general gist of what I know.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone actually knows exactly what is happening, but there is a very good correlation or large correlation between insulin resistance and leptin resistance.
Mhm.
And somehow it seems like very high insulin levels in the brain will cause this leptin resistance, but I don't think anyone actually knows the mechanism behind that yet. So often where you don't have to be overweight to be insulin resistant or to be type 2 diabetic. That's not necessarily the case, but you can still be leptin resistant. And that is because of the insulin. I don't know if it's always the case that they go hand in hand, but I think it's very, very common.
Mhm.
Yes, that is Lukeee in the flesh, calling it from Brazil.
Hello.
Hi, Wakey Toaster. Hi, Helmet. So yeah, oh, Richard, you didn't have to do that, but I do appreciate it. Thank you so much. To all the mice in the world. So yeah, leptin is one thing. So if we jump over to when we're actually consuming some food, there are obviously other things that are playing in as well. So leptin
Mhm.
resistance is one thing. So obviously leptin is a hormone released by your fat cells. Whenever you're eating, your fat cells should release more leptin, and they do most of the time. And this is where the research failed many years ago when they thought, oh my god, we found that the cure for obesity will just make a leptin medication, and we will inject leptin into rats, and voila, they won't eat. But it doesn't actually work that way. So the thing is that the more fat you are, the more fat tissue you have, the more leptin you're going to create. So in theory, that would stop you from eating a lot. But in real life, a lot of the time, it's the opposite because you're leptin resistant. So that's why it might not add up in your head when you're thinking, oh, well, hang on, what's happening? So anyway, back to when we're actually eating something. We put something in our mouth, it goes down into the stomach, and we have things down there like receptors and things as well that will
Mhm.
signal how much space things are taking in our stomach. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, that's.
It's your show.
I'm a bit iffy on that part, but there are certain receptors that are specific to like certain nutrients or certain compounds found in foods, and those can trigger like so they associated hormonal signals that will actually play a role in satiety.
Yeah.
And there is, I think this goes a bit, it can go into detail a bit more on this later, but there is also a connection between hunger and thirst, which has to do with your need for minerals. So usually minerals are actually quite involved in signaling hunger, because sometimes you want to eat something and not because you are like lacking energy or lacking a certain specific nutrient, but rather it is a form of thirst. Your body is trying to replenish minerals. And that's why you see a lot of people craving fast foods, because they are usually high in sodium.
Interesting. So that's not my expertise. So if you want to expand on that and talk more about that, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, like I'm not sure what is the exact hormonal signaling that underpins how minerals will actually regulate satiety, but what happens is that sodium plays a major role in actually not letting you lose other minerals. When you don't eat enough sodium, your body starts to use other minerals to compensate. So you may lose, for example, more magnesium or more potassium in your sweat. And so when you don't eat enough sodium, it will create not only a sensation of thirst, but it may actually cause a sensation of hunger, because you're trying to eat foods that you like, that you are some usually savory and salty foods to replenish that sodium. And that's why it is important to know, to get sort of train your body consciousness or your self-awareness of what you're really feeling, because sometimes it isn't hunger. In fact, it is just this thirst, which is actually a need for minerals. And if you think about it on the evolutionary perspective, the waters we used to drink from streams and springs and such, they were high in they were high in minerals. And the idea is that your body sometimes doesn't differentiate between uh, simply trying to replenish minerals or trying to replenish lost water. Sometimes thirst can be both things or one of those, and
Yep.
sometimes it can manifest itself as hunger of sorts. And when you're fasting, all those snake juices and electrolytes, they have the obvious function of replenishing what you can easily lose by sweat and other means, but also they help you control your hunger, because they help you control this thirst that is associated with the mineral intake. At least that's what I've heard.
Cool. So do you think that, I mean, I know that a lot of people seem to be able to curb their cravings by just eating a little bit of salt. Is that why? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that's so. And it's funny because actually my grandma, way before I understood any of this, she used to have a habit of carrying around some coarse salt with her wherever she went. And if for some reason she got caught up in work or shopping or something happened and she couldn't get home in time to make a meal and she started feeling hungry, she would just binge on a few grains of coarse salt. And she said that it would help her just forget about the hunger.
Awesome. It just goes to show what, you know, all the wisdom that the older generation have that no one would pay attention to now. Well,
Exactly.
almost no one. You did. But often it takes some reading so that we kind of understand where that comes from, because we're so dependent on the science nowadays that everything that is not science, we just dismiss it automatically. And maybe we shouldn't.
Yes.
Maybe there is something to that.
Mhm.
Okay, so what sort of minerals? Is it mostly sodium that we would lack, or would we feel, hunger or peckish from lacking any other type of minerals as well? Do you know?
Yeah, I don't know much in details, but I would suspect that you can actually have cravings when you are lacking other minerals.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen people saying that, like, for example, lacking magnesium can cause you to crave certain fermented foods that have it, and especially chocolate. People it's something that gets thrown around. That people say, oh, if you're lacking magnesium, you may have a higher craving for chocolates and stuff. And I'd say it's definitely possible, especially considering that when you eat meat, organs, and the blood, the combination of all those animal products that we would have eaten when we were hunter gatherers, this tends to contain all the minerals that you need.
And do they do that? If you're not eating organ meats, would you be deficient in anything that you know of that could cause
Yes.
cravings?
Yes. So I think I'd say that I'm not sure which specific parts of the animal tend to have most of a certain mineral, but from what I remember, I believe that muscle meat in itself is a good source. At least it is dominant in potassium,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why across the world, most cultures people tend to salt their meat
Yeah.
because you are sort of trying to balance the sodium and potassium. It tastes good, but there's an underlying idea behind that, an underlying principle. And of course, just remembering that mineral needs are highly personal and individual. They can vary depending on activity level and your personal genetics, I guess. But overall, people will salt their meat with because of this. They're trying to balance out the electrolyte ratios, and it's funny because in this way, it's kind of as if salt were a blood substitute, I guess.
Yeah. That makes all the sense. So I'm just checking the comments here. Now we have a little bit of a break. So it seems like Sky rated that people have come over from Sky's live stream that started almost 3 hours ago. I know because this chap was there and he's here now.
Bart was
Cool.
pretty. He was pretty.
Ah,
Comments.
he's Cornell's stand-in today apparently.
Sometimes I forget which words I want to use, but yeah, he highlighted very well that I was going to be on today. He will, he made sure that everybody knew about it.
There you go. Well, they should. You're not here every week. And now Luke is going to go back and has a lot to study, so he won't have time to do this. He will just troll the channel.
No.
Helmet says, I've talked to my butcher here in Australia to get me a picanha for next Friday. Would you recommend I slow roast it whole or cut into steaks? Yes, Lukeee, the chef. I think he's asking you.
Maybe cut it into steaks. You see, picanha here, at least traditionally, it is a barbecue cut. So it's usually barbecued, and that's the way I like it the most. And that's what I would say.
It's funny. How much cooking do you do?
Not a lot.
And he's
Like
asking you.
when I was when I was away, before quarantine, I did more cooking, but now hardly any.
That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Symbolic Mind has a point. Smash the like button, baby. Yeah.
Yes, forget.
Thank you, Honest. Right. So Miss Pagan says, I ate one meat-loaded fajita and I'm stuffed right now. So, one. Comments, Lukeee. Why is she stuffed after just one?
Just after. Yeah, so I mean, there's other things I'm not. I actually wanted to see your take on this, Pim, but
Mhm.
it seems that higher. I've seen people say both things, and I'm not quite sure now. But it seems that higher protein meals actually will satiate you more, and it seems that fat gives you the most satiety. It seems.
I I'm not sure. Maybe it's per calorie. I thought actually protein was the most satiating one, but I might be wrong there.
Yeah,
But either way, they're both pretty good. But what I would say, I know you have been cheating, but you've also been fasting very recently, which so when you've been fasting, it's not so much actually your stomach is quite stretchy, so it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
that your stomach shrinks that
yeah,
most
yeah,
people think.
exactly.
It's that you're resetting the hormonal signals for the satiety when you're doing the fast, so that you feel satiated much quicker. But what I find if I'm being a strict carnivore or the way I'm eating carnivore with, a little bit of plant matter every now and then, but not a lot. If I go and then have a fajita with, some sort of grain, that just seems to take up a lot of space in my stomach and kind of swell. So I would get full really quickly as well. So I think that might be what's going on there, and it's the stretch receptors around your stomach that will send the satiety signal that your stomach is actually full. That's I think that together with your reset probably. Uh, Symbolic mind. That first point is interesting. Yeah, it is. I don't drink a lot. Maybe I should try to drink more. I'm just not very good. I always say I should try
Funny.
to drink more.
It's funny. I have a friend, but I actually got her to lose weight. Basically, I made her go a bit lower carb. She's still around 20% calories from carbs. It's not that good yet, but quite good.
That's
And
good.
what helped her a lot was just eating some salt and maybe drinking some salt water. She said that it really helped her when she was going for like a smaller eating window or just skipping a meal or something. It really helped her, and she, to this day she says, okay, your advice has been better than doctor's advice.
Yay. There you go. Well, that's the thing. If you are someone who is eating 50, maybe even 60% of carbs going down to 20, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but, it's a huge difference still. Honest, salt's everything. I do too. I like my salt, and I'm going to keep salting. So that was quite interesting. I don't know if you saw my second interview with Philip from Sweden, who's eating raw meat. He doesn't use salt
Oh
at
yeah.
all, ever. And I'm like, whoa, I'm using salt all the time on everything. And he says that he's drinking a lot of water, and I don't drink much water. And it should kind of be the opposite, you would think. So when you say that everyone has their own, physiological need for different minerals, etc., either I'm very unbalanced or I just need a lot more. And one thing that I God, what was her name? She has a Facebook group. She's doing a ketogenic diet, sort of thing, and she's monitoring blood glucose and ketones very thoroughly for people with migraines. And one thing that she has noticed is that the migraine brain is obviously very sensitive to energy loss. So when the blood glucose goes down, that might bring on a migraine, for example. But also, people who have migraines tend to need a lot more salt. So I'm thinking that maybe that's why I've always been eating a lot of salt. I haven't always suffered from migraines. That's something that's come in the last 5, 10 years, maybe. But I have had a lot of headaches throughout my life. So maybe it's just the way I'm made. I don't know. There's still many question marks out there. Oh dear. Yeah, honest, it's hot. At least he didn't talk about you this time. Everyone here thinks Lukeee is hot. Can we get more hot Lukees in the comments? Give me
This is
a Lukee's hot. Will you come on again as my guest?
Uh,
Okay. So Miss Pagan says, I don't like the salt water. I'd rather just eat the salt. So this is you get used to it really quickly, I would say. I mean, give it a week and you won't even taste the salt. But you have to kind of drink it consistently. So Mr. K, most of the time when he drinks my snake juice, he's like, it's horrible. I can't even taste it. If I drink just, normal water, I think that it's kind of sweet and I don't like it anymore. I have to have,
I
yeah.
mean, and people may want to take this with a grain of salt, pun intended.
Hmm.
But I, for some reason or whichever reason, I tend to have a higher need for salt, and salt, regular sodium chloride, it can be easily regulated by taste. It seems that humans have a really nice negative feedback mechanism for that, where the more salt you eat, as close as you get to what you're needing, the less savory, the less nice it tastes. And I've always noticed that I like salt more than most people. And when I started salting my water, when I finally understood why it's important and why I may want to do that after some time in researching and joining, the diet communities and stuff, I noticed that I actually prefer the slightly salty water.
Yeah, totally agree. And the funny thing is that sometimes, not very often, but sometimes he just drinks it and he's fine with it. So that's probably when he's, salt depleted. For me, it's always good. I never think it's too salty. If I put too much salt in, I'm like, oh, it tastes little bit salty. It's fine. I don't mind it. So Richard has a good question here. Thoughts about circadian rhythm and sleep affecting hunger. Do you feel like you want to tackle that?
Yeah, I may give that one to you, Pin. I actually
Uh,
don't know much about it. It's one of my big question marks.
okay. So what I know about circadian rhythm and hunger is just, you know, wh- let's say that you have disrupted sleep, so you haven't slept well for a day. That is going to mean that you are tired, and when you're tired, you are going to seek out food and
Mhm.
preferably sugar. And I
Mm.
noticed that this is one of the things that I notice very strongly. If I haven't slept, I will have cravings all day long almost. It's
Mm.
just this obsessive seeking of eating constantly. I want to graze all day and preferably sugar.
Mhm.
And obviously, that's the worst combination because if after just one night of sleep deprivation, you're pretty much insulin resistant as well. So there are a lot of things that are happening, and I don't know even half of them. But yeah, there is a lot of suggestions for that this is definitely happening. Whether whether it is hunger, true hunger, I don't know. For me, it's just cravings. It's like I am tired, my brain is tired, I can't think straight because I'm too tired, and that just triggers me to want to seek out something to eat because eating you generally means you get energy, and voila, you should have energy to actually think. But the problem isn't that you don't have the energy. The problem is that you haven't slept. So that's why you have the brain fog. So just a really, really bad circuit of bad things going on when you're not sleeping. So whereas I think diet is super important. If you don't get sleep, I think you are in so much more trouble. It doesn't matter what you do with your diet if your sleep isn't dialed in, I think. It's just my take on it.
Yeah, I would agree.
Good. We like sleeping. I can't even sleep a lot anymore. I used to always need 8 to 9 hours or I would be like total zombie.
Mm.
Now, if I sleep 7, 8 hours, I'm good. If I'm sleeping 6, I'm still pretty okay. If I sleep more than 8 hours, I can't sleep in the evening. It's like, boom, no, you slept too much. You're gonna stay awake all night, pretty
Yeah,
much. So I
yeah.
have to be very careful with that.
I tend to
Sorry?
be that, and I tend to be that way as well. It's the same.
Yes, I can't allow myself to sleep until I wake up. I need to set an alarm because if I allow myself to sleep until I wake up, I know I won't be able to sleep tonight. That's just how it is. Right. Anna says salt brings out the sweet in things. Who said that? Someone was putting salt on something, like some fruit, and I can't remember what it was.
Pin, that I'm not sure what it was,
Yeah.
but there's so my mom used to like eat limes with salt
Okay.
and certain fruit. So if, let's say for example you have you had some oranges, and you made orange juice with them, but they were a bit overripe, almost get like when they start to spoil or something,
Mm-hmm.
because salt tends to, it tends to diminish what you feel from your bitter receptors. The juice will actually taste better if you salt it to a proper amount.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I'll
and
try
with,
that next time.
yeah, and with the limes, I'm not sure what it is. I just like it as well. Limes and salt, it works somehow.
Okay. Yeah, maybe it is because limes aren't very sweet, so if you can draw out the sweet with salt, it might taste better. But I also know that never mind. I was gonna start talking about cooking here, but never mind. Let's skip that. uh, right. So Wacky Toaster says, any idea what chips cravings could be? Sodium?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of complicated, I guess, because maybe sodium, but at the same time, it may be actually uh, like emotional, or maybe kind of an is latent addiction of sorts, because chips are hyper palatable, and you may have created a connection with the flavor itself and the pleasure of eating them.
Yeah, something that you need to keep in mind. So when you're craving any sort of processed food, is that, I mean, there are degrees called food scientist degrees, and their only job is to combine salt, sugar, fat, and whatever into the perfect combination that will trigger your cravings as much as possible and give your brain as much pleasure as possible.
Yeah.
This varies a little bit between different countries, between ages, etc. So when you have something like, I remember this from many, many years ago, I used to eat these Kellogg's K with frozen dried berries. And then I went to France. So I lived in Sweden at this time. And I
Mm.
bought them there. And it tasted completely different. They were not as sweet at all because the French people don't want their cereal as
Oh,
sweet. They don't buy as much of it. So they do change the formulation slightly depending on in what country they are selling these things.
mhm.
And chips, just like your brain wants sweetness, it wants fat, and it wants salt. And chips most of the time contain at least two of those if you go for the salty ones. But if you have something like the sour cream and chives or whatever, there's always some sort of sugar or maybe MSG in there, which triggers another sense that you have. So I would be very, very careful. But, with processed foods, and even if we're talking about, um, just baked potato. Many people like fried potatoes, baked potatoes, deep fried, mashed, whatever. It's still that combination of fat, salt, and starch. So I will be a little bit careful with making any conclusions about it actually being sodium.
Exactly.
So we got a super chat. Thank you, Bart. He just want to give YouTube a little bit of money, or he wants attention. I'm not sure which one it is. Oh, you don't get, I guess I was meant to say you, don't get to see and hear two people as smart as these two for free, boys and girls. I'll start the ball rolling, get you out the credit cards. Thank you. Well, thank you so much. We'll have to send Lukeee a little gift, I guess. Let's see if I can find my way back in the chat. We're quite far behind. We're doing a Harry, but we're actually not talking to you guys today. We're just talking because we like talking about this. Okay. Yes, chip cravings are a sign of salsa deficiency.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things when if you get chips and you get a salsa craving, you know that those two are always going together. That's what you program your brain to want. So, yeah. And that is not a nutritional deficiency, just to make it clear. Yay, Sky's in the house. Welcome, girl.
She's here.
Yay. Yes, there we go. What is the runtime of this stream? I usually do 1 hour because Bart's stream is now minus 6 minutes, but I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Lukeee said that it was very short last time he popped on, even though he was late that time. So we'll see. We don't want to make him disappointed again. Yes, we need more likes. Monk Mode, I'm sorry I haven't got back to you and I still want to interview you, but thanks for being here. I haven't seen you in ages. I hope you're well. Just one, but it was a £1 Vegeta. Nice. Okay. Okay, so Anna says, for some reason I thought cold potatoes have the highest satiety. I'm not sure that cold potatoes have the highest satiety of all things, like higher than protein or fat.
Yeah, probably not.
No, definitely. I'm pretty sure protein has the highest satiety. Just saying. I don't think it's fat. At least, definitely, if we're talking about per energy.
Yeah, no, that's probably it.
Okay, this is interesting. Rachel says, I had a piece of cheese before bed last night, and this morning I was unusually very hungry. Why would that be? Thoughts?
I'm puzzled.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I would just want to say that some people can get, an insulin response from dairy.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay.
So, and that is always, so different amino acids have a different insulin response. So depending on what protein foods you're eating, you will get a different insulin response. And dairy just has a much higher insulin response than meat has in general. So if you are sensitive to that, you're eating that, the last thing that is happening, you're going to get an insulin response, but you're not going to have a lot of carbs in your system. Your blood sugar is going to drop when you go sleep, and then it's probably going to be up and down a little bit, and you're probably going to wake up hungry because rather than having, benefited from the dawn phenomenon in the morning, you might actually be lower than you usually, which doesn't necessarily mean that you are hypoglycemic. It just means that you're lower than your normal set point.
Yeah.
And that's going to trigger your hunger signals.
That makes sense.
Yeah, cool. We're in agreement. Okay. Let's see. Abe, on the subject of fasting, as related to extended fast like the snake diet, how does the potassium-sodium mixture impact the hunger hormone? Is it something pH related in the stomach? Lukeee, I don't know the answer to that. I could maybe make some shit up, but I'll let you answer it.
Like I mentioned before, I'm not quite sure how exactly minerals themselves, or the mineral content of what you're ingesting, how exactly does it signal satiety and stuff? Because I know that tends to get messy, because since we are talking about electrolytes, they also have there's like several different pathways that deal with like the diuretic hormones and stuff. So there's a ton of stuff like water retention and other stuff. So it's not just hunger related. So it is a complex thing, and I wouldn't say that it's related to like stomach pH. It's just some sort of receptor or your body's ability to sense or measure the amount of minerals in your system.
Cool. Monk Mode says ghrelin tends to decrease over the length of the fast. For example, I'm on a day 6 of a fast, and hunger goes down significantly after day 3.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I only done one 7-day fast, but day 4, I wasn't hungry anymore. The only thing, or the major problem for me then was the not eating. Like, I wanted to chew on something. It's just the, like, why am I not getting to use my mouth and chew on some real food? You know, it's strange, but I wasn't hungry, so it's just like a mental thing that you have to deal with. And then I started to get a little bit dizzy, and strange things was happening only when I was standing, not when I was walking or sitting, just when I was standing. Really strange. Uh, yes, Miss Pagan. Her headaches are almost nothing now already after just a week of diet change. Yeah. So what does that teach you? Don't do it again.
Yep.
Yeah. Holy shit. I hate migraines. I get them after I drink 9 beers. Well,
Yeah,
just drink
don't
8
do
then.
that.
Yeah, so Fluffy Rainbow says cold spuds contain resistant starch. Some type 1 diabetics, I guess, have success stabilizing their blood sugar lows and highs. It does something. Yeah. So absolutely, it is mainly resistant starch. When you cool them down, you can heat them up again, and there will still be resistant starch because the structure in the starch will change. So that's not a problem. However, not everything is resistant starch. And as Monk Mo says, better to not eat starch. Right. Abe says, a long time ago, when I was 21, I took a blood pressure medication during a migraine event, and once the med was in the system, the migraine cleared up. Okay. So that was then, I guess, related to high blood pressure. I'm not sure that's the case for all migraineurs, but I can absolutely see how that would cause a migraine.
Migraines are complicated.
Yes, I don't think anyone has the answer to everything that's going on there. But one thing that I learned many years ago now is that the migraine brain seems to process sugar differently than a normal brain, if you like, if you want to call it a more normal brain. So it's more naturally insulin resistant, pretty much.
I see.
So that could explain why it's so beneficial for me to cut out sugar or carbs. I can eat, you know, up to a certain level, but once I go over that, not good. Right. Yes, thank you, Lukeee. You can say it loud though.
But we already said it like a few seconds ago.
Fair enough. Okay, so literally Abe took a diuretic, so it's a type of water pill that cause the cells to release water. I bring it up because would sodium actually do the same thing contrary to mainstream advice? Do you want to answer that? So would eating a lot of sodium cause water retention?
Yeah, I think they have this hypothesis about so the salt. They say that salt causes high blood pressure because it will increase blood volume because it pulls on water. But the thing is, when you go low carb, you will lose a lot of water, like carbs, and because of the insulin production, it causes you to hold on to a lot of water, if I remember correctly. and a lot of like high blood pressure cases simply solve themselves just by going on a lower carb diet. And actually, I don't remember the specific biochemical mechanisms behind it, but the same, I believe, the same system that blood pressure medication tries to stimulate to reduce blood pressure is something that can be engaged by consuming more sodium. And you will, if you go around, you will find cases of people actually eating more salt and resolving their high blood pressure, which is just complete flies in the face of conventional wisdom, I guess.
Yeah. No, that's I haven't seen any convincing evidence for that sodium on its own is raising blood
Mm.
pressure. Um, there's nothing. I mean, if I eat sodium to a near lethal dose, my kidneys will excrete that. If you have severe kidney damage, maybe it will cause increased blood pressure. Maybe. I don't really know. But obviously, you don't want to stress your kidneys unnecessarily if you actually have, some sort of kidney disease, maybe. I'm not saying go on low salt diet. It's not what I'm saying, but maybe you just want to eat the amount that you should be eating and not, pile on with whatever. So no, I don't think this is the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more has to do with the inflammation, and there's so many things going on there. And I think if I Googled, for example, insulin resistance and hypertension or um, water retention, I would get a bunch of things up there as well. So I don't think the salt is just um, perhaps if you're eating. I say perhaps, but I don't even believe in that. But if there's a mineral imbalance, I wouldn't say if you're eating more sodium, you'll get a mineral imbalance. I think if you're lacking other minerals, you might get water retention, but that is not because you're eating too much sodium. I think it's because you're lacking something. What are you laughing at, Lukeee?
Necro made a meme with me.
I haven't seen that yet. You need to scroll down.
Uh,
No, it's not here. Obviously, can put memes in there.
yeah,
Can you share it on the screen?
yeah. I actually posted. I'm not sure. I don't. I haven't messed too much with StreamYards.
I'm
I
wondering.
did post the link just now, though.
Okay, now I need to find it. Oh, I can't click the link. What the actual fuck? I need to go to
What?
I'll find a different question that you can answer, and meanwhile I'll go and fix that picture. Okay, so Abe says, when you talk about salt, what type are we talking about? Some brands I get have anti-caking agents or extra stuff. I typically have been using Morton salt with iodide.
Yeah. So you have to look into what is the specific anti-caking agent they use in your brand of choice, and I would say that things like silicon dioxide are not that bad, but there's other types of anti-caking agents, and those may have drawbacks. The main thing about refined salt, and I think we talked about this last time I was here, they add iodine to it, but the bioavailability is kind of poor because you have a lot of chloride because it's salt, sodium chloride, and halogens, which is the family of elements that has fluorine, chlorine, and iodine, and a few others. They will compete against themselves for absorption. So the actual iodine in refined salt that is added as a means of supplementation, it is not that bioavailable because of this, because of halogen competition. And yeah, it being refined salt, you are missing out on the other minerals that would be in the raw salt. So what people usually recommend in like most of the places I've been to and around this carnivore community and stuff, it's to use ancient salt deposits like pink salt and salt from lakes and stuff, and it has no anti-cakey agents, and yeah, it doesn't matter that it doesn't have iodine really, because the best source still is food. And eating the raw salt, the salt in its natural state, you can consume the other trace minerals, and that tends to be better for you.
So what do you say if I think that I'm iodine or iodine deficient and I want to use something like Lugol's solution? Should I do it away from a meal where I'm eating salt? Would it interfere with my iodine uptake if I was
Yeah,
just eating a lot of salt at the same time?
yeah, I'd say so. Eating a lot of salt at the same time, and there's like other concerns, like when you are eating whole foods, the main concern I'd say it's the salt. But for example, let's say that you made a broth with like seaweed in it. It's like seaweed, people use seaweed for iodine, but it's like the content is highly variable. And the thing is, seaweed may have bromine as well, and that is another halogen that can engage in competition with the iodine. And if you are eating processed food for whichever reason, that can have other additives that are halogens themselves, and the water in which you cook your food, it can have fluoride in it. So there's all these concerns that you need to be aware of that can affect iodine absorption. And it's not like, oh, I'm not going to absorb anything, but it's definitely less.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Wacky toaster. I see. But I should note I haven't eaten chips for over a year. That's good, I think. I just saw Abe saying chips, at least in the USA, all contain canola oil. Yeah. So it's going to be very, very hard for you to find any deep fried stuff that is deep fried in animal fat nowadays. They just don't do that anymore. A, because it's not considered heart healthy, and B, because it's so much more expensive. You can get canola oil for nothing. Right. Now I'm gonna share. Let's see where it is. This one. So thank you, NecroKitty. I think he looks a little bit too skinny, but I don't know. Luke, show us your biceps.
Let me see.
Yeah, that's not Lukey on the picture, eh? We like that little bump here. I've never been able to have a bump like that. That's cool. So let's stop showing that and go back to reality. The real Luke is better, but we still like it. So apparently Bart got Symbolic Mind's attention with that hot pick in Sky's stream. What was that? Have I missed something?
What was that?
I don't know.
I
I
don't
didn't have
remember.
time to watch it. I've been on call all
Yeah, I'm not
morning.
sure what he's referring to.
No. So, okay, Lambs is here and has a question. Good, we like questions finally. What effect is to be expected when switching from a SAD to a keto carnivore-ish diet? I did have some electrolyte issues, still have sometimes them, I guess. And this is funny because I was just going to say Monk Mode is here and he is like the wizard on electrolytes.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to read these answers first and then see if we still have questions. And he says, eat plenty of salt. Good start. Insulin retains water and salt. You drop it significantly when you go low carb or fast. Yes. You need to replace sodium, potassium, and get more sodium on average when you are keto. Yeah. That's probably what I would say as well. So this is a bigger problem when you just switching. So for the first few weeks, you might want to eat, you know, depending on how much salt you ate before, but maybe 1.5 times as much as you ate, maybe more. You know, you just tighten up to see where you start feeling good.
Yeah.
Other comments?
Yeah. On a side note, it's funny, I have mentioned this before. I think Pin may remember this, but when I was a new viewer on the channel, I used to, when you were first doing live streams, I guess, I used to mention a lot that something that really annoyed me is that uh, you may see in some places some vegans, especially I think fruitarians, they may say that, oh, how can it be our natural diet when you need to eat higher salt and you have people eating several grams of salt? You know, our minerals should come from foods and like leaves and fruit and stuff. And it's like using salt just proves that it's not supposed to be our diet. And this is such a gross misunderstanding of everything, especially when you consider, I was talking about blood before. If you look up the nutrition for blood, you see that there's quite a bit of salt there. If you eat nose to tail, you are getting actually quite a lot of minerals, sodium in particular. And if you look at tribes like the Maasai in Africa, the reason they drink milk mixed with blood is actually for that. The blood works as a source of sodium, and the milk tends to be dominant in potassium as well. So it is actually a sort of a not only food but a electrolyte drink as well. And yeah, also in the past, our soils were much more mineralized than nowadays. So every animal we ate was also higher in minerals. So yeah, it's just completely nonsensical. And also, I may add, since we were hunter gatherers, we used to follow the groups of animals around, and usually the animals would be attracted to salt licks. So it's not like there was no natural source of salt even away from the sea.
Mm, that's a good point. I love that because I mean, let's not talk about how old I am, but this was many, many years ago when I first uh, did my first course in to give diet advice to people, basically. And I was so fixated on creating the perfect diet that wouldn't need any supplements. Because, in my opinion, if you're eating right, you shouldn't need supplements.
Mhm.
And no matter how hard I try to put these together according to the daily recommended intakes, I could not get something to be within the limits of the amount of energy that you should be eating without getting fat to actually match up on all accounts when it came to the vitamins and minerals. They were always short, fall short somewhere. And I couldn't figure this out, and it was just doing my head in. The most perfect food I actually got, I love this, is pancakes because they contain eggs, lots of B vitamins, lots of everything, milk,
Mhm.
which supplements that. And then we had obviously flour in pancakes as well, which would get them up to fulfill the carbohydrate requirement that I thought that we needed at the time. And they also obviously is fortified, etc. So if I was eating plain pancakes, I would get the right amount of fat, the right amount of carbs, the right amount of proteins, and I would not quite get to 100% of all the vitamins and minerals. But if I had that every day and then kind of actually built a diet around pancakes, just supplementing with whatever fit in there, other foods, I would get pretty close. And that is kind of crazy to think that pancakes would be close to the perfect diet according to
Oh God.
the guidelines, what they want us to eat in
Mhm.
terms of macros and also minerals or vitamins. So I've always been interested in trying to find a diet that will fulfill that. And obviously, that's how I got into keto
Mhm.
and paleo and now carnivore. And I think carnivore is the only diet that actually lives up to that if you are doing it properly, if you eat enough. So that might be one thing, that some people might not eat enough food. Like me, I'm not very good at eating 5, 6, 700 grams of meat every day. So will I then get enough of the nutrients? Probably not. So in my case, I would probably benefit from eating more organs. So I think the less you can eat, the more organs you need to supplement with. And if you can eat enough meat, you will still get what you need. And that's why I think there is such a discrepancy between what people say. Some people say, yes, I definitely need organs. We need to eat organs. It's really important. Whereas others says, I haven't eaten organs. I've been eating this way for 10 years. I don't have a problem. But they might be eating a lot of meat and they will just get everything that they need that way. So, you know, stay a little bit open-minded and try to see what's going on here. Not everyone is the same. Not everyone eats the same. Not all animals contain the same amount of nutrients, minerals, etc., and not even from the same species. This different breeds of cows contain different composition of fat and protein, but also minerals, etc. And where's the grass that they ate? Is that on a mineral-rich soil or not? And all of this actually plays in. So if you're always getting your meat from the same source, and that source is deficient in magnesium, then maybe you will be deficient in magnesium, especially if you're not eating enough of it. Just saying. Now I went on a rant.
Harry mode on.
I'm gonna let you go on a rant next. Luke looks like he's about to drop that fat dubstep with them headphones.
Yeah, I like my Sony headphones.
Good. Oh dear, it's turning into one of those.
Yes,
I got
yes. So
some.
let's keep it away from that.
Yeah, boo, go away. Lukeee doesn't want you here. Daniel says, I have a giant 5 pound, almost solid block of beef suet. What in the hell should I do with it? Hey, Daniel, you want to have a look in my freezer? I took a picture before. I wonder if I still have it on my phone, but then I need to upload it somehow. I bought, it was 11.5 kilo of beef suet, and it came in one solid piece. And I just put it up on my stove and I started hacking away at it. So I filled my slow cooker up and I made, I was rendering the fat out so that I now have lots of jars in the kitchen with pure beef fat. And I did this twice and I still have probably 7 kilos left. And I literally filled up the freezer with it so that I have some cut up as well that I can eat as, just fry and eat. But yeah, that's probably what I would do. Either you cut it up and fry it and eat it, or eat it raw if you want to, or you can just make beef drippings or tallow from it, which is perfect because now I'm frying in that all the time. That's what I think you should be doing with it.
Very nice.
Very nice. Miss Pagan needs to be punished, and I bet she wants you to punish her, Lukeee.
No comments.
No! Refusal. Daniel says, do I need a meat saw for my big block of beef suet in the freezer right now? You know what? My knives are actually quite dull right now, and I'm just like, I can't be bothered to sharpen them. Beef suet is so easy to cut through. You can literally take a super dull knife and just like put it straight through. It's not hard at all. You don't need anything like that. It's perfect.
Pin, can you make? I think you should make Monk Mode a moderator on the YouTube chat.
On the chat.
Yeah, on the stream chat. He likes to stuff usually.
I don't know how to do that on this chat, but if I make him a moderator on my YouTube channel, that might work.
Yes, that's it. That's the same thing.
Yeah, okay. So if I go and do that, what do you want to talk about, Lukeee? You need to entertain then. Let's see if we can find a question first, and then I'll pop over and see if I can do that.
You're talking about making tallow and stuff for frying. I'm still trying to get my family to adopt lard as the main frying medium.
Okay.
there have been successful attempts, but my mom is quite resistant to change. And it's like, it is a bit annoying because I just can't look at like vegetable oils anymore. It's just disgusting. And whenever she fries up something in oil, I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to pretend that it was fried in lard so I don't feel as bad. And, we don't eat a lot of fried food, but it is bad and it should be avoided meticulously. And that's what I'm trying to get my folks to understand. And they seem to be understanding it, but yeah, it's going to take some time. My mom is quite resistant to change, as I said.
Yeah, sorry, I just deleted you as as
Yeah.
my moderator when I tried to type in monk mode.
Oh,
Let's
God.
see. That should. I don't know why it doesn't want to save.
Oh, actually, about the saturated fat, just remember now. I'm not quite sure, but I was watching a presentation with, I think it's Doctor, what's his name? Michael Iadis. I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Really butchering that, but he talked about reverse electron transport chain. And yeah, I was supposed to review that because I kind of wanted to talk about this. This has been known for a while, and Harry actually talked about this before as well. And I'm not going to go into too many details. I was also supposed to review this again, so I could talk about it a bit better. But basically, there is saturated fats will trigger a mechanism which is this so-called reverse electron transport chain. And that actually plays a role in satiety. And in this presentation I was watching, he actually mentions a study where it wasn't the purpose of the study to show this, but it appeared in the data they collected that they had mashed potatoes that were made with like vegetable oil and another recipe that was made with milk and butter. And the thing is, they recorded on average among the participants of the study what was the amount of mashed potatoes eaten till satiety. And the mashed potatoes made with like vegetable oil, I believe it was around 1,000 calories or something like that. And while the ones made with milk and butter, they were like people just consumed on average 700 calories before feeling full. And it has to do with this mechanism. I sadly can't go into too much detail, but if you guys want to look for it, I think the video is called A New Hypothesis of Obesity. And it is like, and I found that pretty interesting, and it actually ties into the whole thing about processed foods being hyperpalatable and making you eat a lot more. And yeah, if they were made with animal fats, you would eat less because it tends to trigger this extra mechanism for satiety.
Cool. Sorry,
And
I
also,
missed pretty much half of what you were doing because my brain's like, I can't do it, and then I managed to do
yeah,
it. But
excellent.
I recognize what you were talking about, but I didn't hear half of it anyway, so apologies for that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's me trying to make someone a. I tried to go into the settings and add him there, but the only monk mode YouTube found was a different channel with someone else.
Oh,
So I was like,
yeah.
what the hell? And then I realized I could do it straight
Yeah,
in the chat.
that can be a bit complicated.
Yes. So I managed to do it. I don't know why you wanted to be a moderator, but welcome and thank you so much. Now you better handle the chat and get rid of all assholes. All right, so
Yeah, like when you interview him, it's nice. I don't know if he's going to be on a live stream or something, but he can post links, so it's helpful.
yeah. Oh, well, I hope he will come on camera as well, but we will discuss that.
You should. If I did it, you can do it too.
Yeah. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm really being on camera is something that I've pretty much forced myself to do because I hate being on camera. I hate having my picture taken. And even to this day, I very, very rarely rewatch my own videos because I don't really want to see or hear myself. So there you
Wow.
go.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no idea. I did not like that, you know.
No, don't want to see. It's like it's done. Other people can watch it. I'll just stay away
Yes.
from it. We all have our weird things going on. So Bart says most migraines are to do with excess blood flow in the brain. The diuretics lower your water volume, hence brain flow, i.e., migraine solved.
Interesting.
Cool. Yeah. Uh,
Very
let's see.
interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And one of the things that can trigger my migraines, like if I have something going on that might not quite break out into migraine, if I take a hot bath, I'll have a migraine within 20 minutes. Boom, straight
Oh,
away. Probably blood flow, like. I've tried to do the opposite. I put ice packs on my neck after that. Unfortunately, it doesn't stop it. It's just very fucking cold. Excuse my French. Okay, so Abe says, consider how people say fiber in fruit makes the sugar spike slower. Is there then something that will work for sodium, like something that slows the uptake of sodium?
not sure about that.
No, I'm not. Slower uptake of sodium. I mean, sodium is it's it's literally a molecule consisting of sodium and chlorine. So it's very, very small and it will just pass through all the little channels that you have and some places probably between the cells, etc. And it will float around in your blood. So yeah, it's probably going to be hard to. The only way I can see would be if you somehow, I mean, downregulate the receptors on the cells to slow the uptake into those cells, but otherwise it's just going to diffuse into your body fluids, and because your body doesn't like gradients, it will try to make the concentration of salt the same everywhere. So it's not going to be the same in the stomach because the stomach is protected because it wants a lot of chlorine in there, as in stomach acid, which is hydrogen and chlorine. So it will kind of be protected. But most of the body will just try to find an equilibrium where it's the same-ish everywhere. Blood will want 7.4, so we'll have little pumps to make sure that it pumps enough chlorine in and out, etc., to kind of, or sodium, potassium, to kind of keep that pH, etc. But more or less, I don't think so. Now I went on a rant again. I just keep talking. Let's see then. Dun, dun. Okay. So what salt are you using, Luke?
Yeah, as of now, it's just regular old refined salt. Really, it's a brand I've used for like my whole life, and it if you know there's no sense in mentioning brands because there's no one else from Brazil, but it is like the most popular salt brand, and it's like triple recrystallized salt, so it's very pure, and it is iodized as well. But yes, it's just refined salt, really.
Cool. Right. So Abe says, however, pork rinds are available. I'm not sure. I missed kind of the conversation here. I can't find
Oh,
anything.
yeah. He was talking about like there not being anything fried in uh, animal fats anymore, and
Ah,
you know most stuff's fried in canola oil and such.
right. Okay. Also, I believe the usage of canola oil is related to vegetarians, vegans. You would be surprised if you're buying pork rinds, check the label
Check the label.
because you will be able to find pork rinds that have been deep fried in canola oil or any sort of seed oil. So be a little bit careful with that. Don't assume that just
Mhm.
because it's an animal product. When I think I took a picture of that as well, and I think I posted it on my Instagram or something. And I was like, "Oh, that looks delicious," and I just read it, and there was so much crap, including like vegetable oils in it, and it was supposed to be pork cracklings, and I was like, "What the hell are they doing?" Beats me, but
It's so sad to see that, really, because pork rinds are a traditional food. Like, it's so simple to make them. They would be fried in the pig's own fat, you know.
exactly, and it would be very easy to do that. They release a lot of fat. You don't need to add anything.
Mhm.
And he says also, is Pim's hair blue or is it just lighting? Yeah, it is sort of blue. That's
Oh,
correct. It's I'm dyeing it with indigo powder, just the indigo powder, not like henna. I used to do henna and indigo to get it to be a little bit darker, but now at one point I just ran out of the henna. I was like, wonder what happened if I do the indigo, and it went blue. So I was like, that's cool. I'll keep doing that. And then I was waiting for everything to grow away so I could cut it off, and that took me about 2 years. And now I'm gonna enjoy having smooth hair for a while. Uh, Yes, we have missed you, Gung Fu. Where the actual F have you been? If you
dusters for
say
you.
cat videos, no excuse. Because we got Lukeee here today, and that's kind of like a celebrity here. So you should have paid your respect early on.
You're on the blacklist now, Kung Fu.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yes. Yep. For goodness sake, Kung Fu. I was eating pizza and watching Cinnamon videos. Cinnamon was harassed by a black cat and didn't want to go home. Bullshit. Is Cinnamon better than Lukeee? I can harass Lukeee if you want.
Don't make. You don't need to try. You don't need.
Okay, so this is let's talk about this one a bit. Abe says paleo diet seems to be very accurate to a nature state. Do you want to have a crack at that?
I mean, it's like the conception, like the whole idea surrounding a paleo diet is nice, and it's definitely a good guiding principle. But you also have to be aware of the ways people will try to corrupt that and misinterpret it. And the things about, like, I see some paleo people like going on rants about, oh, it's important to eat like tubers and stuff like that, and I'm like, just no, please. Like, tubers, it doesn't make sense. Tubers are a starvation food. It's something that humans would eat for emergency purposes, for an extra input of energy, and not everyone's ancestors would be consuming tubers. That's something you have to watch out for. And I know Pink's going to kind of disagree with me because she doesn't do well with dairy, but people tend to be against dairy. And I wouldn't say that's necessarily a fair point of view, because not only were we consuming some forms of dairy before what the first recorded consumption of milk, for example, because when you hunt, you also eat whatever is inside the calf, the small animals, baby animals, and such. So you will eat some forms of cheese, some coagulated milk that was in the intestines and such. That's probably actually how we discovered cheese. And yeah, there's several things you need to watch out for. Like, everyone's ancestry is different, and a lot of corporations actually latch on to the paleo movement to sell you shit, you know. But as a guiding principle, the idea of eating like humans in their natural state is like a very good idea, but you have to interpret things properly, you know. And for example, some people might say, "Oh, salt is not ancestral," but like we were discussing before, it totally is ancestral.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you with regards to milk at all. I just think that there are many people that don't do well with dairy products, and
Mhm.
for some people it's very obvious their digestion just craps out, or um, it might be obvious when you remove it, but like sinus problems on dairy is very common. Um,
Mm.
you just general water retention and inflammation is probably
Yeah,
quite common as well, and you wouldn't know that unless you remove it and
yes,
then
yes,
reintroduce it.
yes.
Um,
That's
so
fair.
I'm not against dairy, but for me it's not a good idea for me.
Mhm.
And what I want to add to what you were saying, because it's all making sense. I mean, we can kind of extrapolate this to include a lot of things to be paleo. But if you're looking at the fruits and the vegetables that we do have today, we didn't have them 10,000 years ago in that form. They didn't contain as many, as many sugars or as many, as much starch a lot of the time. Sure, there were tubers and there were different grasses that you could probably make some flour out of, but those are
Mhm.
like the ancient type of species, and
Yeah.
we're not using them nowadays because it's not efficient. It's not enough energy in there,
Yes.
and they don't have the properties that we're looking for. They're not very palatable. So if you go back and you eat what they ate 10,000 years ago, you wouldn't be eating a lot of sweet potatoes and cucumbers and God knows, the modern type of vegetables that we have. So there might be vegetables, but are they actually Paleolithic foods? I think they're not in the form that they are right now. They kind of have evolved from what they were, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we can eat shitloads of them. And then grinding up almond flour and mixing that with dried dates and honey to make a cake so that it's paleo does only make sense if you don't give a shit about the oxidation of the almonds or the amount of sugars that you're eating. So for someone who their only goal is to eat paleo because they don't want to eat gluten, sure, go ahead and do that, but that's not going to be good for your health.
Yeah.
So I just want to make a little bit of a distinction there. So downing a bag of dried fruit is not good
Hmm.
for you, even if it's considered paleo.
Yeah.
Cool. Right, so Daniel asks, is milk better for you than water for hydration?
Possibly. I think it's like I think I responded to him. A message. I wrote a
Okay,
message. But yeah,
so there.
pretty much that. I think the general idea is that milk, since it has fat, it can actually be a source of metabolic water because you are going to metabolize that fat as you use it for energy. And there's also the mineral content of milk. And why I want to say, oh, it definitely is better than water, is because thirst is a sensation that is motivated by more than one possible state. So sometimes you are physically lacking water, you want to replenish water, and there's nothing better than water itself to do that, I would say. But sometimes you actually want water and minerals, and I would say that dairy, especially milk, is actually better in that regard. And there's also the matter of metabolic water, which, as Harry has so elegantly taught me, it has lower deuterium, the water that you make from metabolizing the fat that you intake or your own fat, and that is a very good thing because deuterium breaks our nanomachines and in the mitochondria for production of energy. So yeah, those are the factors to take into account.
Would do you know if it makes a difference whether that's raw milk or processed milk, or is the mineral content the same?
It's, yeah, minerals are one of the things that tend not to be very affected by processing, such as pasteurization and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's more a matter of what you can tolerate. And yeah, the main things that are lost are like water soluble vitamins and stuff. And of course, you lose a lot of the enzymes, the proteins get warped, and people that don't tolerate dairy well, they will probably have all sorts of problems with like pasteurized or UHT problems that they may not have when they drink raw milk. But in terms of mineral content, doesn't really change that much.
Cool. Abe says, also, when it comes to carnivore, what is actually the proportions to eat? I've been eating a large out of meat, like 2 steaks, pork chops, and eggs. What is considered overdoing it with carnivore? Um, I, I think if you are eating just meat, eggs, whatever is carnivore, and not processed carnivore foods like cheese, salami, um, I don't know if I want to put bacon in there, but it's also a bit more palatable because it has been processed. You're gonna struggle to eat more than your body needs, literally. The only time I would think that you would eat more is probably if you are very deficient in something and your body is just like screaming for whatever nutrients you are missing, and you need to eat that to actually heal up. Then I think maybe you will overeat for a period of time, but I think that's probably going to self-regulate after a while. So if you are eating good carnivore foods and you are gaining weight and you've been doing that for a long period of time, then maybe, something's broken in your satiety signals, but most of the time I don't think that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to add?
No, that's perfect.
Okay. Let's see. We are way behind with the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Beef suet or beef fat better? I use both to make tallow.
Personal.
Yeah. I think if you're gonna eat it, a lot of people probably prefer suet.
Mm-hmm.
To make tallow, don't think it matters. I bought beef suet because I want to eat it as well. And then I just, got 11.5 kilos. I had a little bit too much, and it would take me quite some time to eat all of that beef suet because I'm not eating it every day. So, yeah, I just made tallow out of it because I had too much of it, basically. But if you're just going to make tallow and you're not too bothered, it's probably cheaper to get fat offcuts than beef suet. Let's see then. I have a big pile of beef tallow from bone broth making. I never end up using it. Why not? Don't you ever fry something or, you know? Okay, so monk mode has some interesting point here. Beef suit has more stearic acid than the tallow. The C16 fat and may increase fat oxidation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Questions? Abe says, just for fun, what amount of money needs to generate to cause a dietary paradigm shift? That would maybe be more of your expertise than mine. I don't give a shit. Lukeee, thoughts?
Oh, that is way above my pay grade, but yeah,
Okay.
that I think we could get some people from the administration areas of studies and such, and maybe some production engineers and such, and maybe, brainstorm something like that. But yeah, like the way things are and how much there is invested behind the dietary recommendations and such, it's not even just about money, really. It's about like a cultural shift.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It might have been about money, but now everyone's brainwashed, so
Yeah.
it's going to be about a lot more than that. So Zombie has a question here. Lately, when I eat steak, same supplier I've used for over a year, it has a mild lemon vinegar sort of aftertaste. Suspect it could actually be an anti-caking agent in this new salt. Lemon vinegar sort of aftertaste.
Anti-caking agent. I'm
I don't really know of any
not sure.
anti-caking agents that would do that.
It would have to be something that has acetate or some form of citrate, maybe, to leave that
Yep.
sort of taste. But I'm not sure what additive has that.
Um, Zombie, try it with a different salt and see if you get the same result. That's what I would do because that doesn't make any sense. Or
Yeah, and I don't think they use such a thing as sodium acetate as an anti-cake agent, because that
well,
could
hope
that
not.
could, yeah, probably not, but that's something that could have an aftertaste, I guess. But yeah, not sure what's going on there.
Okay, we're gonna leave that one for now and go to Daniel's. It says the carb addiction doc talks about how real fat triggers real satiety too. Yeah. Thanks, Pim. Monk Mo deserves it. Yeah, then he has to come here more often. You've been missing in action for quite some time. Or hiding, I don't know which one. Monk Mode says supposedly stearic acid can induce insulin resistance in the fat cells, increases reactive oxygen species, and causes more uncoupled fat oxidation. So more fat burning, and they are less likely to undergo hypertrophy in response to insulin. Okay. I kind of want insulin resistance in my fat cells because I don't want them to grow any bigger. Bo, Lol, my wish is your command, Pim Johnson. Getting rid of assholes has been my life mission. Bo, do you want to be an admin? Is that what you're saying? Getting rid of assholes. Oh, funny. But by the way, if you want to be a mod, just shout out. It's fine. I don't have a huge amount of jobs for you though, because people are quite well behaved around here. To be fair, I have only had one troll so far, and I'm kind of a lot more. What shall we say? Lenient than someone else I know. Monk Mode says, I did a hot bath thing today and my heart rate was through the roof, nearly passed out getting out. Yeah, that can happen. And that will give me a headache or a migraine. Oh my god, I'm so jealous. One headache every 10 years. Daniel, I've been doing cold showers, Wim Hof style, since March, more or less every day, except around my period because I'm so freaking cold that I can't get warm. I can't even get warm in a warm room. Just saying. Bo says, eating rice for past 2 days and oven fries baking now. It fucking sucks being poor. Why are you eating that? Can't you just fast? If you can't afford real food, wouldn't it be better to not eat that?
Yeah. Well, can't say much. I still eat a lot of rice, sadly.
Fair enough. Yeah. Well, I hope there is some sort of protein in there as well, and not just rice and fries, rice and phrase.
That's really what I've noticed, being is that my whole life I was sort of carnivore in a way, because you mostly just eat the starches as a way to get your energy requirements sorted. And looking back, though, at my diet, even before I started changing it, most of like the vast majority of the nutrition came from animal products, and like the starch, such as white rice, is cheap and is a way to fill in the gaps for energy. Nothing else.
Cool. Yeah, so Bo, give us an update on what's in there and why you're not fasting. Abe says, is Bart actually streaming today? I thought he was on a break. No, he's not streaming today. He was on Sky's or You Did It Wrong's live stream this morning and also last night.
Yep. Which
Uh,
selling the same day for me.
yeah, well, they started at midnight here and then 7 a.m. again. So he was confined to my office because it's further away from the bedroom so that I could sleep. Oh my god, Lukeee. The winners ate the losers' tribe's strongest warriors in ritualistic fashion for some tribes. That's
Yes. My ancestors were messed up.
that would be quite annoying because obviously the strongest warriors have some pretty good genes that you would want to pass on. So it's a cunning
Yeah.
tactic, but not very
It,
nice.
it is funny, like it is very intricate, the cultures and the rituals of like Brazilian tribes. I myself don't want to talk much about it because there's a lot I know from word of mouth and from some superficial history classes, but uh, a reoccurring theme, I'm like far away from the Amazon, like I'm in South Brazil, not North Brazil, but a reoccurring theme across the country, and I think that several indigenous tribes around the world have this, is that you eat something to get its properties.
Oh,
And
yep.
yeah, they had this, like if you eat the strongest warriors, you become strong. And the
That's
funny
where your biceps are coming from.
thing,
he ate his competition. It's like, I want your bicep.
and the funny thing is that the guarana plant, the energy drink flavor, which is actually guarana, if you guys didn't know, the history behind that, when the fruit is ripe, it shows the seed inside and it looks like an eyeball. And the whole idea behind that, it was actually, the legends say that, the folklore of the tribe say that it was actually a warrior that was received some kind of blessing, and his eyeballs became the fruit. Yeah, it's everything is centered around body parts and eating something to get its properties. It's interesting. It's fascinating what they thought about.
Yeah, that's quite funny. And they believed it as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it's true. Abe says, if a processed meat like knockwurst or bratwurst contain no sugar, is it still okay to eat? I mean, I eat salami. I eat bacon. What else did I mention? I can't even remember. Well, I don't eat cheese so much, but
Yeah, but the general gist is, if you can tolerate the spices and the additives, that's fine. And I just wouldn't say, just don't base your whole diet around that.
yeah. So maybe a year ago, I just got hooked on salami, and I felt like I had cravings for salami every bloody evening, and I pretty much had to have it in the evening just to snack on, and that is a problem, not just for my health, but for the addiction mentality that I have around certain things. So I've substituted my sugar addiction with salami addiction pretty much. It's a lot easier to stop eating salami because I'm not truly addicted to it. It's just the behavior. But you don't want to be that person that just relies on a lot of processed foods because you are substituting it for something else that you really crave. So, and if you don't get inflamed, if you feel fine, you don't have a problem, go ahead. But if you are inflamed, if you're carrying too much fat and you don't know what's causing it, and you think you're doing well, but you're eating, 200 grams of salami every day, maybe it is a problem for you. Symbolic Mind says, thoughts on fish. If I hate it, should I still try to eat some every week? I definitely don't.
Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, so I'm a rich tapestry guy, and I think it is important to eat different animals. But yeah, don't force yourself. Like, look into it, see if you can, like, I don't know, whatever you're looking into fish for, maybe you can get it somewhere else.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think, one of the cornerstones for any diet is that it needs to be doable and palatable to you.
Yes, yes.
So I've been trying to, I mean, maybe a couple of months ago, maybe 3 months ago, I started making a lot of chicken liver pate, and I could actually eat it, and it was pretty good. And then I just, all of a sudden, I was like, oh, I can't do it anymore. I don't know if the last batch was just tasting more of, that horrible liver aftertaste or whatever. Just didn't like it. It's still in my fridge. It's probably grown mold, or maybe not, because I have a layer of fat on top of it. And my dog is probably going to have it rather than me, because I still don't feel for it. So I'm almost thinking maybe I should get some desiccated liver or something and take that to get my liver in. It's probably going to be a lot easier for me than trying to teach myself or force myself to eat a lot of liver, because I think that I probably would benefit from it. So it's never going to work if you don't like what you're eating. Likewise, I never eat fish ever because I'd hate fish. I think it's disgusting. But if you like it, sure, go for it. If you don't, know why. I'm eating, as I said, I have my grass-fed beef tallow from my home rendered um, beef suet. I use that to fry in. I do eat some of that sometimes. I have grass-fed butter that I'm eating. I'm just trying to be a bit picky about the quality of the other fats that I'm eating, so I'm not eating a lot of crap fats, basically. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Sorry?
Time went by fast.
Yes, again. That's why I'm kind of skipping in the chat now. Okay, so Bo says, update, the rice was with French free-range chicken in Thai spices, but yeah, oven fries after 3 days laying I in bed, unable to get up due to severe back pain. I fasted 3 days in between. Okay. I'm sorry to hear about your back pain. That sounds kind of quite severe if you can't get out of bed. The fries are not going to do you any favors with regards to the back pain, though. I think we discussed that, was it 2 weeks ago? Someone was asking about sugar and getting hip pain. And I said,
Yeah.
whenever I have sugar, I get lower back pain. And it's not because my lower back is hurting, it's because I get really stiff around my hips. So I don't know what it is about sugar or a lot of carbs and stiffness in that area, or, pain. So I'm kind of wondering if that's just going to make it worse, maybe. Thoughts? No? You're good?
Yeah, not quite sure what's going on.
No, I'm trying to figure out the next comment, which says, Bart better get to lifting or he may be all alone. Right. So, what are the thoughts on the sodium derivative preservatives, i.e. sodium nitrate?
That's it's hard to say a bit. It's probably not ideal to like, as I said, if you base your diet around something that has been preserved with that, you may run into problems. But there's like, I I'm not sure if there's that much of an issue from nitrates and nitrites. I think it is used to be a big health scare of sorts, but I'm not sure there's actually much behind it. And like several, I don't know, some things that humans could happen to eat in nature may have high nitrate content or nitrite. And yeah, I think that a problematic sodium additive would be sodium benzoate that gets added to a lot of processed foods because it keeps mold away. It's a very reliable preservative. And yeah, as you know, it has a benzoate in the name. There's actually a thing where if it is a food with, I believe, a lot of vitamin C in it, for example, you have juice preserved with the uh, sodium benzoate, the vitamin C can react with the sodium benzoate and actually release benzene into the juice. And there have been some instances where the benzene content was above the guidelines and the uh, proper amounts that are set by the governing bodies. And but even the worst case scenario that was like 10 times above the guidelines or something, it's still less benzene than you would inhale just by living on a city, a big city. So yeah, just stay away from like the benzoate stuff because it's usually just added to really crappy products. And this sodium nitrate and other stuff, they, yeah, not really that much of a problem. Just don't overdo it with the processed food, really.
Yeah, I think, as you say, I mean, I don't know if sodium nitrate would be a problem. At one point, I thought it might, and then I thought it wouldn't. And now I'm kind of undecided because I'm not
Yeah,
entirely sure. You find it in a lot of plants in nature, etc. But we know that aren't always good for us.
yeah,
So, um, if I have the choice and I can buy nitrate-free bacon, I will do it just for
yes,
the sake, because
pretty
it's
much.
yeah, because it's probably a better idea. Whether it's
Ex-
doing me favors or not, it's not really relevant. If I
mm,
can't find nitrate-free bacon, nowadays I do eat other bacon as well, but I'm not eating, shitloads of bacon every day. I do eat
mm.
bacon. I still like it. Okay, Gung Fu, have you not heard me answer this like 100 times already? What do you think about cod liver oil with omega-3?
Oh, the hides.
Yeah. The thing with oil in general, I mean, we have the same problem with all types of oils. The more omega-3 you have in an oil, the harder it's going to be to produce that oil with as little oxidation as possible. So if you have a very high omega-3 oil, omega-3 content in an oil, you're going to get more oxidation generally. Omega-3s are what's going to oxidize first in your oil, and then the sixes, etc. And that is because the three gives away the position of the double bond on the carbon chain. So it's very close to the end, which means that the oxygen can get to it very easily. Six is a little bit further in, which makes it a little bit harder to oxidize. So if you must, then sure, do it. I don't think anyone should do any omega-3 supplement as like an insurance pill. I would take omega-3 supplements under certain circumstances, and the only one I actually can think of myself right now is if I had a traumatic brain injury. Because in that case, I think the benefit of getting enough omega-3s to repair my brain outweighs the amount of aldehydes I'm going to get from that, or oxidation products in general, for a short period of time. I wouldn't do it consistently every day throughout my life because that'd just keep adding more and more oxidation every day to my system. I would be fine doing it as mega dosing for a very short period of time just to build up my brain again because I know that the brain needs a lot of omega-3s, etc. Would I take it if I was pregnant? Maybe, because a baby's brain will develop better if you have enough omega-3s. If you're eating fish, I would just make sure that I got enough fish and, preferably the wild caught variety that actually has a lot of omega-3s in it, etc. And I would be very picky about my fat sources, and I would always go that route first before I went to supplements.
Yeah.
So there, another
Yeah.
rant.
Yeah. I would say that if you are for some reason only like eating ruminants and stuff like that, go for the brains. You know, brains have a decent omega-3 content. And
Yeah.
I would ask to you, Pin, what do you think about like maybe some people have access to like fresh, cold pressed cod liver oil? Would you say that's bad as well?
But it's not fresh. How are you pressing a cod liver?
Yeah, like I've heard, I've just heard they use like the term fresh, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what necessarily it means. But I'd say that's the least damaging way to extract the oil. You know, it's cold pressed and stuff. And
I I should probably know this, but I don't know how you actually extract the oil from cod livers. But it's not like you just mesh it up and put it in a centrifuge and the oil will float to the top. There's
yeah,
probably something else going on there, and there's probably a chemical process. And while you're doing this, you're gonna have it, subjected to oxygen, etc.
mhm.
And you're always getting a crude oil first. And if you ever seen, I actually have some crude oil, some crude fish oil here, because
It's
I'm gonna
cloudy.
throw. It's rank. They were gonna throw
Yeah,
it away because we just had so much extra of that, and I
yeah,
took it for Bart for he wanted to build what do you call it? These burley bombs that you put in when you do fishing to attract fish, and it
yeah.
works really well. But it's like a dark brown, almost a black, sticky, super stinky oil. It's
Mhm.
nothing that anyone would eat, and
Yes.
it contains a lot of shit that isn't oil as well. So you need to clean it from here, and that's what you're doing when you're neutralizing it and when you're bleaching it, and you might be deodorizing it as well if you want it to be palatable. So when you say fresh, I'm like, what's fresh about the cod liver oil? Can it be fresh?
I need to like I just can't go into further detail because I myself I don't know what they do with this sort of product and how the extraction process is. And yeah, that's a gap in knowledge, I guess.
Mm. I really should look it up. I'm actually googling, but I can't find anything quickly. But I imagine that
Yeah.
there are a lot of processes involved there before you actually get the oil. So
Mhm.
I don't know what the term fresh is doing there. It reminds me of an episode of I can't even remember what program was what. This must have been more than 10 years ago. I was watching on TV. Gordon Ramsay was the program where he visits this restaurant that's they're not doing well, and he's trying to help them. And they had this fresh frozen something on the menu, and he was like, "What the fuck is fresh frozen? There is no such thing as fresh frozen. It is fresh or it's frozen. It's not fresh frozen." And that's how I feel about that. It's like there is no fresh cod liver oil because you can't just take a liver and squeeze out the oil and eat it. If you could do that, then I would agree that it's probably fresh, but that's
Mhm.
not how we do it. So sorry, but I'm gonna say thumbs down for that idea. I don't think it makes a difference. Sorry, Lukeee.
Yeah, I just had to bring it up.
That's all right. Okay, zombie. I've had meat only very strict for 2 weeks now. All my pains have gone. I was starting to get some hip pain from eating some bad things, and it's already gone. Yeah, it's funny how it goes to the hips. Seems to be a thing that goes around here. Do you
Yes.
get anything like that, Lukeee, or are you too young?
You're not speaking to the right person about reactions. I
No.
don't know. Some people might not have remembered this, but last time I was here, I don't get a lot of reactions from food. I'm not one of those people that, oh, I can't eat X or Y and I feel this and that. That usually doesn't happen. It's very rare. And that's why I'm so surprised I even have a autoimmune thyroid. I
Yeah.
don't feel anything. I don't know what caused it. It was like, poof, there you go. You have autoimmune disease now.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, It's obviously a benefit that you are young and healthy in general. So
Yeah.
if someone got that when they were in the 60s, they probably have a lot more metabolic damage and other things going on and cofactors that influence it, etc. So good for you. So Monk Mode and Harry has been on the nitrates here. So it says Monk Mode says nitrates in food convert to nitric oxide in the bloodstream. No, vegetables have so much more nitrates than any found in preserved meat. Your saliva generates it anyway. And then Harry chimes in. Thanks, Harry. Most bacon with nitrates have sugar and other fillers, but only overdosed rats on nitrates need to worry. There you
Yeah,
go.
that's a good
Yeah,
point.
so we don't want the sugar in the bacon. I actually don't even like bacon that has sugar in it. Sweet doesn't. Sweet should not mix with savory.
No, no, bacon was supposed to be sweet.
No, and nor do we have pineapple on pizza because it's disgusting. What happened to your light, Lukeee? Oh, there you
Oh, messing around with the windows.
go. Okay. If food with nitrates convert to nitric oxide, that means Viagra, right? Oh, spoil sport Harry's here says that it's very little effect. Doesn't good butter have some omega-3s? Yes, it does.
Yes.
Harry, is there anything in anti-caking agents in salt that you can think of that would make the meat taste a little bit like lemon or vinegar? Since we have him here, we may as well ask him
Yeah.
because we can come up with anything. Symbolic Mind says, knowing how companies work, the cod liver oil is probably leftover fish trash from other things. Yeah,
Yes, it's quite possible.
absolutely.
You have some better products where the company actually dedicates itself to making that, but
Yeah,
mostly, mostly it's just crap.
yeah. Zombie says, if it's anything like how fish cooking oil is made, it's great. Fish cooking oil? What the hell? You let the fish ferment and drip and catch all the liquid. Yeah. I have never heard of fish cooking oil. Is that like a fish oil that you cook in? Because in
Isn't
that
that like
case, that must be the worst thing that I can think of that anyone would cook in for both taste and health.
that's similar to fish sauce somehow,
Well,
but
fish, yeah, okay.
fish sauce isn't made with the oil though. They just
No,
like layer the fish in salt and let it rot inside the salt, and
yeah.
they cook the leftover liquids.
Well, you need to have that for Thai cooking, and I love Thai cooking. Haven't had it for a while though, but if I go out and I eat out, it's like, can we have Thai? I just love it. Harry, baking soda in the mix could be causing it. I don't think any baking soda would be in normal. Do you think baking soda would be in the anti-caking agent in normal salt?
I wouldn't expect it to be there.
No, that sounds a bit strange. Why
But
put baking
yeah,
soda in?
because the whole point of the anti-caking agent is to prevent the accumulation of moisture, and so the salt doesn't clump up.
Yeah,
And I'm not sure why there would be a anti-caking agent that would use baking soda. I don't
no
know
idea.
what sort of function it could serve.
Okay, Zombie says, I found the question about steak tasting like lemon on a couple of keto forums, but no answer. It's only steak. Okay. Well, I haven't actually heard about it before, but
That's
I'm glad
weird.
I can't taste that. Okay. Monk Mo says, garum fish sauce, watching it being made on an industrial scale is somewhat horrifying. I can imagine that. I don't want to know.
No, it smells bad, really bad.
Oh, Necro says, I love the look of concerned you, Pim, had while Luke explained making a fish dish.
It's like it's funny. Like I tolerate dairy. Pig doesn't. I like fish. She doesn't.
Which is totally fine. Okay, so Harry didn't actually mean, he meant in cooked food and meat, not the salt.
Oh,
It's fair enough. But this was fresh meat with just salt tasting
yeah.
like lemon or vinegar. Symbolic Mind says, I thought I hated fish. Pim takes it to another level. I'm glad. So I've hit a wall with steak after 9 months carnivore. Yeah, I mean, we all get fed up with certain types of foods. I can also all of a sudden go off a certain type of meat and then I want something else. And that's when I'm getting into um, maybe a week or two when I just want like chicken broth with like making it into egg drop soup with something, and I want salami and I want all those kind of things that have extra flavor because I'm just so bloody sick of eating bland steak. And then I'm fine again. So I don't think you're the only one.
Oh God.
We've been going for 2 hours and we're actually
Yeah.
at the end of it. So
Mhm.
I think maybe it's time for us to round up. Did you have
Yeah.
anything else that you wanted to add?
Probably not.
No?
Yeah, this was a rather nice stream. It's. I would just like to say that it was nice to be here again. And yeah, I feel much better than my first times, and this actually has become rather easy now. And whoa, my door opened by itself.
Yeah, good. Well, you
uh,
always, you know that. It's always nice to have you here.
mhm.
So, yeah, we're not going to take any more questions now. I'm going to let Lukeee go because he needs to deal
Mhm.
with that ghost thing. And Luke, thank you so much for coming on the stream. It's really nice to kind of have someone helping me answer the questions because, as you say, we have kind of different opinions and we have different experiences, obviously. And yeah, I think it's always good to have a second opinion to
Mhm.
complement your own. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Penny. It's an honor to be here. I really
Yeah,
like your content, and it's really nice to help you out.
awesome. And thank you everyone who's been here. Thanks for all the questions you actually had today. I'm really happy that we had some real questions. So keep them coming. And I will see you again later on. And by the way, you can leave me a comment if you want to know anything about powerlifting on carnivore diet, because tomorrow I'm interviewing a woman who has just been competing in powerlifting. She's been doing keto for 3 months and carnivore for 1 month. And I will probably have her back after November again when she's been on carnivore for a bit, a bit longer to see what her
Mhm.
progress has been, etc. So that will be airing on Tuesday as normal, unless she cancels on me. I don't think so. So leave your comments, leave your questions if you have any questions with regards to powerlifting. So this is pure strength, just pushing out the numbers and being carnivore. So thank you so much, and I will see you next week.